I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to end up in a courtroom, watching the woman I once loved break down in tears as she realized she had played herself. But I also never thought I'd be the kind of guy to be made a fool of. Turns out both happened. I'm 34, and I have been married to Blake, 31, for a little over 5 years. We met in our mid-20s, both ambitious, both looking for something serious. At least, that's what I thought. Blake had this way about her. Effortlessly charming, outgoing, magnetic. People gravitated toward her. She always knew what to say, how to work a room, how to get people to like her, including me. I was never the flashy type. I was steady, dependable, financially responsible. The guy who planned for the future, while Blake lived in the moment. And for a long time, I thought that balance worked. But the truth is, it only works when both people respect each other. And at a dinner one night, I found out Blake never respected me at all. It was supposed to be a casual night, just me, Blake, and a couple of her friends. We went to a nice restaurant, one of those places with dim lighting and overpriced drinks. I had been working a lot lately, trying to secure a promotion at my firm. Blake had been spending more, not excessively, but enough that I had noticed. Just treating myself, she'd say with a laugh whenever I asked. I wasn't the type to police her spending, but something nagged at me. I ignored it. That was my mistake. As we sat there, drinks flowing, the conversation turned toward relationships. One of Blake's friends, Sienna, had recently gotten engaged to a tech startup guy who had just come into a ton of money. Blake was excited for her, but then Sienna turned to Blake, drunk and laughing. "You're lucky your husband's so dumb. Most men would see the red flags." I felt the air shift. Blake smirked, took a sip of her drink, and shrugged. What can I say? Some guys are just easy. My stomach dropped. The table laughed like it was a joke. I forced a chuckle, pretending I was also too drunk to care. But inside, something snapped. Even under the influence, I didn't confront her. Not there, not that night. Because I realized something in that moment. She thought I was dumb. She thought I was so trusting, so oblivious, that I would never see it. And that made me wonder, what exactly was she talking about? That night, after Blake fell asleep, I did something I never thought I'd do. I started digging. Not in a paranoid way, but with precision. I checked our joint bank accounts. Nothing major, just inconsistencies, small withdrawals that didn't add up. Then I checked her credit card statements. Bigger spending than usual, but nothing outright damning. Then I checked her private savings account. That's when I saw it. Over the past 6 months, Blake had been moving money, small amount at first, then larger ones, into a completely separate account. At first, I told myself maybe she was saving for something private, a personal goal, maybe even a surprise for me. But deep down, I knew better. She was preparing for something, and I was going to find out what. I didn't sleep that night. Lying next to Blake, listening to her steady breathing, I felt like I was in bed with a stranger. I kept replaying the dinner conversation in my head. You're lucky your husband's so dumb. Most men would see the red flags. What can I say? Some guys are just easy. Blake had laughed like it was nothing, like I was nothing. I wasn't sure what was worse, the fact that she had mocked me in my face or the fact that she thought I'd never figure it out. She thought I was too trusting, too soft, too easy to manipulate. She was wrong. By the time the sun came up, I had made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her. I was going to outsmart her. I started by gathering evidence. Bank transactions, 6 months of statements, every transfer highlighted. The amounts were small at first, a couple hundred here, a few more there. Then, 3 months ago, the withdrawals got bigger. $2,000, then $4,000, then $7,500. She had been building a separate financial safety net. I checked her credit card statements, expensive spa treatments, designer clothes, high-end restaurants, places she never took me. Then I saw hotel bookings. 2 of them. Weekend stays at a luxury hotel downtown. Both booked on weekends. I had been out of town for work. My stomach turned. Was she just preparing for a divorce? Or had she already moved on to someone else? I checked our doorbell camera. Friday night. First hotel weekend. Blake leave alone. Comes back Sunday afternoon. Friday night. Second hotel weekend. Same pattern. Leaves alone. Returns Sunday. No strange men, no proof of cheating. At least not yet. But the financial secrecy, the separate bank account, the dinner conversation, she was planning something. And I was going to make sure it backfired. I took everything I found and scheduled a meeting with a divorce lawyer. I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. What I learned, any money she secretly moved during the marriage could be considered hidden assets, meaning she could owe me that money in the divorce. If she was planning to blindside me, I could file first, giving me the advantage. If I could prove financial misconduct, I could protect my assets. The best part? If she thought she was in control, she'd get careless. And that's exactly what I needed. I started acting even dumber. I didn't question her spending anymore. I started being overly sweet, like I was trying to make up for being distant. I even casually mentioned that I was thinking of moving money into a joint investment for our future. Blake took the bait. She relaxed, got comfortable, stopped hiding things so carefully. She even started dropping hints. You know, if things ever didn't work out, I think we'd both be fine financially. I love how secure you are in us. Some men get so paranoid. At this point, Blake thought she had me exactly where she wanted. She believed I was the perfect clueless husband, the type of man who wouldn't notice his wife slowly setting herself up to leave. She was wrong. She thought she was ready to leave me, but what she didn't realize was that I was already 10 steps ahead. At the advice of my lawyer, I didn't act impulsively. I waited. I let Blake dig herself deeper into her little game, transferring more money, getting comfortable with her schemes. She thought she had it all figured out. A month after a pivotal dinner, I received a promotion at work. Along with it came a significant salary increase and more financial security, things Blake likely thought would benefit her. I could almost hear her thinking, now I can leave him and take my share. She hadn't planned to file just yet, probably waiting for the right moment, after a few more large transfers or expensive weekends to treat herself. But what she didn't know was that I had already filed for divorce. The morning after my promotion was announced, Blake was all smiles. She kissed me, made my coffee, and acted like the perfect wife. I almost laughed because while she dreamed of the money she thought she'd get from me, my lawyer was submitting the divorce paperwork. My filing included evidence of her hidden bank transfers, proving she was hoarding assets behind my back. I also included claims of financial misconduct. She had used marital funds for her own interests and a request for asset protection, which legally blocked her from touching my accounts. Since I filed first, I controlled the narrative. She wouldn't be able to blindside me. Instead, she was about to get a rude awakening. 2 weeks later, Blake received the divorce papers. She came home furious. "You're divorcing me without even talking to me?" she demanded. I stayed calm, sipping my coffee. "I just thought it was time," I said. Blake tried every trick in the book. She cried, screamed, and even threatened to take half of everything. I didn't react. I stayed silent. When we finally made it to court, Blake showed up dressed to impress, probably thinking she could still talk her way out of it. Her lawyer opened with a confident argument, claiming that she was entitled to half of everything, that she had been financially responsible, and that she deserved her fair share for all the sacrifices she made in the marriage. But Blake's confidence quickly faltered when my lawyer stood up. My lawyer's response was simple but devastating. "We have documented proof that Blake systematically transferred joint funds into a secret personal account. She withdrew large sums under false pretenses, showing clear financial misconduct. She actively planned to leave while securing financial advantages behind my client's back." Then came the bombshell. My lawyer presented transcripts of the financial transfers, and Blake froze. Her lawyer started scrambling. But it wasn't over yet. My lawyer handed over a document, a forensic financial report showing Blake had been siphoning money while making me pay the majority of our living expenses. It was legally classified as asset appropriation. The judge's reaction was immediate. "Mrs. Blake, this changes the nature of your claim. Instead of receiving 50% of assets, you may actually owe your husband restitution." I watched as Blake's confident smirk disappeared. She had walked into that courtroom thinking she would take half, but she was about to walk out with nothing. By the end of the case, Blake had lost all rights to my money. She was ordered to return a portion of the hidden funds and had to pay her own legal fees. I walked out untouched, with all my assets protected. Blake sat there, stunned, humiliated, and defeated. The courtroom was silent, except for the rustling of papers as the judge finalized the decision. Blake, just 30 minutes ago, had expected to walk away with half of everything I owned, but now she was leaving with nothing. As I walked past her, I could feel the rage radiating off her. She turned to me, her voice shaking with fury. "You did this on purpose," she hissed, eyes burning with humiliation. I gave her a calm, amused smile. I thought I was too dumb for that. Blake opened her mouth to argue, but she had nothing left. This wasn't just about her losing the case. It was about her realizing too late that she had underestimated me. And now, she had to live with the consequences. The real consequences came after the trial. Blake's fancy apartment was suddenly out of reach. I had been paying most of the rent, and now she was on her own. Her savings were drained from legal fees and court-mandated repayments. Her luxurious lifestyle, gone. Blake had spent years treating money like a safety net, assuming she'd always have someone taking care of things. Now, no one was taking care of her. Blake didn't just lose financially, she lost her reputation. Her friends distanced themselves when they realized she had tried to pull a financial scam. Her family was furious, and her co-workers, who had once been impressed with her plans to leave me, now saw her as the office joke. One of our mutual friends texted me a week later. "Dude, Blake's been complaining to everyone. She keeps saying you set her up." I just laughed. She had set herself up. All I did was stay quiet and let her believe she was winning. A few weeks after the case, Blake reached out again. Her number was blocked, so she emailed me. The subject line read, "Can we talk?" I didn't even read the email. Instead, I replied with a single sentence, "You should have seen the red flags." Then I blocked her for good. People like Blake never think they can lose. They always assume they're the smartest person in the room. But here's the thing. Sometimes the quiet ones are watching. Sometimes the so-called dumb ones are smarter than you think. And sometimes karma arrives wearing a tailored suit with a lawyer by his side. Blake thought she had played me, but in the end, she played herself, and I walked away with everything.